Why hello! Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Corona. Although, as you'll know, if you've been watching this series, we're not actually cooking with Corona. We are in fact merely cooking during the lockdown whilst Corona is upon us. That is, of course, unless you're watching this and you actually have COVID-19, in which case, of course, we are cooking with Corona in both respects of the connotations within that sentence. Now, today we are going to have a nice little American dish, or more specifically, a Southern American dish. In fact, the next two dishes I'm going to make are going to be American in style. The other is blueberry pie. I'll make that later, or I'll make it during, rather. Chronology in this thing is completely messed up. Never mind. So, although the Americans did not, of course, invent fried chicken per se, that is, in the sense that they didn't invent the idea of putting a chicken into some oil, the recipe that came with it, the bread-like crumbs that went on the outside, is very familiar. And we all know about the Colonel who came up with Kentucky Fried Chicken, or KFC. I'm not going to be following that recipe, although you can find variants of it online and speculations as to what's in it. I will go with typical, and I will also be making it with some of the more common things that would be served with it. So I'll have corn on the cob, I'll have some mashed potatoes, I've got some cornbread. I'm not going to show you how to make that. I might one day, but not today. And hopefully it's all going to turn out well, and if it does not, well, you can all have a laugh at my expense, particularly if you're from Southern America yourself. Now, of course, one of the major ingredients in American style fried chicken is buttermilk. Now, buttermilk is not widely sold in this country. You can find it in farm shops and such, but of course, with the current lockdown, farm shops are few and far between unless you order. But if you don't have buttermilk, what you can do, because the key to buttermilk is the acidity, you can substitute buttermilk by combining milk with cream of tartar, vinegar, a number of different other things. I'm going to use lemon simply because I'm going to need lemon elsewhere in this dish, and I'm going to need it for the dessert I'm going to make later. So, I've got a cupful of milk here then, and then I have a tablespoon here, and I'm going to squeeze this lemon juice into it, and then put that into the milk. Just give that a stir. But I need, if you're using buttermilk, you need 3 cupfuls of it, and I am going to do this twice more then. Put that in the bowl then. 2, 3. All combining lemon juice with it. Now, this is an option, but if you like it spicy, and I do, then you can put some hot sauce in there. Now, I honestly thought that hot sauce was something that, again, could only be found in America, that I'd have to use Tabasco as well, if anything. But in fact, I did find this lovely red hot original cayenne pepper sauce, which approximates it, I suppose. So, now one of the 2 recipes that I'm following, the stay-at-home chef, recommends half a cup of the hot sauce. I think I'm going to use about 1/4 because this is going to be a bit unpredictable. So, in that goes then. 2 teaspoons of salt should go in next. Probably know by now, even after all this time, I don't seem to have any pure pepper, but I do have these peppercorns and turmeric. We're going to try some of that as well. So a teaspoonful of that. Just grate that in. Now, I'm following 2 similar but different recipes in order to make this fried chicken. Rachel from the Stay-at-Home Chef does not call for eggs. Gina from the All Recipes website does. I'm going to risk it simply because I need to get rid of some eggs, and it only requires 1 anyway, so what's the worry? I'm sure you don't need me to show you what cracking an egg on a bowl looks like, but I'll just do it anyway. So open that out, and give it a good stir and whisk. Round it goes then. See, it has a nice pink colour. And it's rather symmetrical that I should add an egg to it because, look, over here I potentially have its mother. Need to hear that, did you? Now, looking at it, I see that some of the feathers are still here. I don't really want to fry those, so I'll give that a good pluck. Once they're featherless, I'm going to bung those in. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I have here 5 wings and 1 breast. I think were I to do this again, I'd probably choose legs instead of wings, and I would probably choose breasts with skin on them. But no matter, I'm sure it will still work. So we'll put this eventually into the mixture. Get that one that got away. And we're going to leave them in there and refrigerate them for about 4 hours. This is self-explanatorily, if indeed that is a word, which I doubt, not a vegetarian recipe. However, you can follow the instructions I'm giving here for the mashed potato recipe that I'm going to do and the corn on the cob. And bear in mind that the sauce that I make for the chicken can also be used for deep-fried mushrooms, if you prefer, if you want to have a vegetarian option. Very well, this is nice and covered with cellophane, so very gingerly with my left hand, as I hold this camera, I'm going to put that in the fridge. There it shall stay for some time. Now, while that's cooling, we have to find a way of making the outer coating when it comes out. Now, one of the 2 recipes that I'm following calls for 1 cup of flour, the other calls for 3 cups of flour. I think I'm going to go with 3 simply because of the amount of chicken that I have. Let's sift out the first cup then. It may look as though I'm spilling it all over the floor. I promise you I'm not. I'm weighing it. That was 1 cup then. Here's the second. And 3. Having sifted that out, we'll put that in the bowl. Hopefully it'll all fit. Yeah, it does. Well, I've got this little gadget here where you can grind dried garlic, like salt, into there. So I'm going to put some of that in, 2 teaspoons or thereabout. And then I've got this here called onion salt. I'm going to put the same amount of that in. 1 teaspoon of oregano and also of paprika. And we're supposed to put some basil in, but I don't seem to be able to find any. What I do have is some garlic and rosemary and thyme. Should we try some of that? I think we should risk it. Just think of it as chicken and stuffing. In that goes then. Now, I think it must be about an hour since I put... I know it only I know to you it seems like I put the chicken in the fridge just a few minutes ago, but what with all the reading of the recipe and measuring stuff out, it's almost 1 hour now, or half an hour at least. So now that I've got this little concoction here, and by the way, the corn flour is what's going to give it the crispiness that it needs, I'm going to leave it and come back later. It's almost time to give the covering to the chicken. I've already got the chicken out of the fridge. The 3 hours has passed, and now I'm going to show you some of the things that it's traditional to have, from what I understand, with southern fried chicken. One of them is mashed potatoes, and over here I've just got some potatoes on, which I'm going to mash later. The other big thing we need frying, of course, is this lovely vegetable oil. Some people prefer peanut oil. We don't have it very widely here. I don't have a deep fat fryer. What I do have is a very large saucepan here. I know another way to do it is to do it in a large skillet. I'm a bit nervous about that, so we'll do it as though we were deep frying. In this goes then. Now I shall heat that oil. I don't really have a way of measuring the temperature. When it looks to me as though it's sufficiently hot, I shall put the chicken in, but not before I've coated it. Here then is the chicken. Let's take one wing here, put it in this flour and spice mixture. This is what gives it the kind of breadcrumb look. Take a breast as well. That might consume a fair amount of the mixture, which is fine because I've got another bowl full. I've actually halved it. Right, now we're going to have a little go at the chicken and try heating it. Let's take this then. Hoping against hope this is going to work. Alright, now that seems to be working. We'll try it from this bowl here. Coat it a bit more. The last of it here. Nice. Has to cook for about half an hour. In the meantime, I'm going to make the vegetables. Now, it's corn on the cob, of course, since this is American style. Here I've got some kale and lardons as well. That is going to help me make the gravy, but it also will accompany it. Before I put the sweet corn on though, I'm going to squeeze in some lemon juice. It's the other half of the lemon that I use to make the milk or buttermilk-like texture. I'd use more. I'd use a whole lemon if I was making 6 sweet corns, the way one of the recipes calls for. Recipe also calls for caster sugar, but I only seem to have this damask sugar, so 1 tablespoonful, another tablespoonful. We'll put that on to boil for about 10-15 minutes. Put that on as well. Now, to the extent that I'm capable, I'm going to make the gravy that goes with it, and it's not usual brown gravy, this is a white kind of gravy. I hope that I can do it. Everything else has gone quite smoothly so far, at least in terms of how it looks. Whether or to what extent it'll be edible will be another matter. Now the list of ingredients mentions chicken broth. When you go to the instructions it mentions chicken stock. Tell you what, we'll use both. So here's the chicken stock. Just put this in a cup. Now I'll ladle out some of the vegetable water from that, the kale and lardon. Put that in the cup, spill some on the floor of course. 2 tablespoons full of the oil then that I've just been using to fry the chicken. Also 2 tablespoons full of the flour mixture. Supposed to be just flour, but this has got a few other things in it. Now the heat is on. We'll put that stock in. A bit lumpy. give it a stir. If I am supposed to put chicken broth in there as well, and I do it now, just half a cupful. We'll use a little bit, see how it works out, and see how much I put in. It's not much. Everything for a further 5 minutes. But with particular concentration on the gravy, since that is the biggest challenge in some ways, apart from the chicken, because you know, vegetables I'm relatively confident with. I know how to cook potatoes, I know how to cook kale. It's just the same method as cabbage, because it is a form of cabbage. Oh yes, and it calls for a cup of milk, but just for fun, why don't we add some of what's left of what I bathed the chicken in? 1 cup it is. No, you can't see it, but trust me, it's there. Have a look. See how I stir this in? I'm going to put this back in the fridge, I think, because there's still some chicken left. That has cooked for a further 5 minutes, like I said. Where are those potatoes? Right, you're supposed to add milk to a cup of milk to the mixture with the potatoes. I was going to add the milk mixture with all the spices in it, but since I put it in the fridge and it's sealed at the back, I'll just add some ordinary milk. So milk. There's still some left. Now, to mash the potato, I'm going to use the same gadget that you will later see me use for the blueberry pie. Just add the milk to that, like I said. A little butter, stir that in. Now I'm going to heat that up again on the corn. Very well. Let's start getting these things out. Want some tissue to drain it off. Maybe get the breast out there. Oh, isn't that lovely? Get them to drain on the tissue. Here's the sweet corn with sugar and lemon. Here's the greens with the lardons, obviously. Here's the mashed potato, with which I may have overindulged. By may, I mean definitely. And here, the gravy. Since there's some more in there, I shan't tip the lot on. But we'll just pour this over. Very well then, let's settle down to it. It's only approaching 6 in the morning. It's not at all as if my body clock is completely out of whack. Greens first then. Nice. Chicken. Chicken with gravy. No. Not being a fan particularly of Kentucky Fried Chicken, a small part of me is thinking, what on earth am I doing with this? No such regrets now. The breast, I admit, is a little tough. Let's try the wing. Oh, that is lovely. That is nice. And the mashed potato. Sauce, what's that like? Or gravy rather. Oh, that's very flavoursome. Now, sweet corn. Oh, lovely. It's been a while since I've had sweet corn as well. Yes, I think, for future reference, I shall have just chicken breast or just chicken wing. Or maybe even chicken leg next time. But it certainly is nice. And this veg really goes well with it. It's there if only to say that I'm adding some health to it. Clear my conscience, so to speak. And add less milk than I did for the mashed potato. And over here, to top off the Southern American feel, I've got some cornbread, which I didn't make myself. Maybe one day I'll teach you how to make it. That's to mop up later. Well, looks like another success. Try it yourself if you like. And if you don't like, I've been wasting my time. Goodbye. Why, hello. And speculations as to what's in it, I will go with typical, and I will also be making it with some of the more common things that would be served with it. So I'll have corn on the cob, I'll have some mashed potatoes, I've got some cornbread. I'm not going to show you how to make that. I might one day, but not today. And hopefully it's all going to turn out well, and if it does not, well, you can all have a laugh at my expense, particularly if you're from South America. Particularly if you're from Southern America yourself. Now, one of the two recipes that I'm following, the stay-at-home chef, recommends half a cup of the hot sauce. I think I'm going to use about a quarter because this is going to be a bit unpredictable. So, in that goes then. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I have here By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I have here I have here 5 legs and 1 breast. On reflection, what I really should have done was get a breast with the skin on it, like as these legs have, but one moment. Not legs at all, are they? By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I have here 5 wings and 1 breasts. I think were I to do this again, I'd probably choose legs instead of wings, and I would probably choose breasts with skin on them. But no matter, I'm sure it will still work. So we'll put this eventually into the mixture. Get that one that got away. And we're going to leave them in there and refrigerate them for about 4 hours. Self-explanatory. This is self-explanatorily, if indeed that is a word, which I doubt, not a vegetarian recipe. However, you can follow the instructions I'm giving here for the mashed potato recipe that I'm going to do and the corn on the cob. And bear in mind that the sauce that I make for the chicken can also be used for deep fried mushrooms, if you prefer, if you want to have a vegetarian option. Hello. I just thought, since I have a lot of oil down here, I'd show you a little trick regarding how you can reuse the oil. It's a little trick I picked up from Mr. Gitter on America's Test Kitchen, so shout out to them. All you need here is some water for every cupful of oil that has been used. Teaspoon of corn flour or cornstarch, whatever you want to call it, of the exact same kind that I used when I was making the mixture for the chicken. You see how I've stirred it in here, and I'm going to pour that straight into the oil. Put in some more. Remember to give it a good stir once it's in the bowl as well. Alright, now heat it a little bit, don't let it simmer. Stir well throughout. Notice how the corn flour is beginning to soak in all the dregs. Now, I can't easily show you, I can't hold the camera and do this at the same time. I've got a sieve right here and I've got a bowl right here. And I'm going to do what I can towards tipping this into the bowl, through the sieve and into the bowl. Right, now provided this has not had fish frying in it, which it hasn't, I can use this 3 times more if I refrigerate it now. And that's my little trick. I hope that I have taught you something, and if I haven't, well, you've rather wasted your time, haven't you? Bye! Right, because I have a lot of the oil left over, and because I also have a lot of the flour and spice mixture, instead of making a separate chicken dish, which I am going to do anyway, I'm actually going to use the remainder of the chicken that I had. So this time I'm going to do it pan-fried. It's actually better this way because the mixture won't sort of go crusty and fall off, which it's danger of doing if you're deep frying it, as I basically did before. So here's the oil going in into this nice non-stick pan. Hope you are counting how many cupfuls that was. I certainly wasn't. You can see I've got the remainder of the chicken in this mixture, and that's another reason why I specifically chose this recipe, because otherwise it would be a waste. Right, now the oil is hot as opposed to boiling, I'm going to start flouring this chicken, and I shall put it in. Wings first, I think. Just coat that as well as I can. Gently put that in. and I'll just keep doing that. Alright, these are all cooking. I've heated up the oil a little bit. I'm going to turn these over now. Ah, lovely. Very well, I've turned them over once again. Here you can see I've got some veg on and lardons for this batch. Before long, I shall get this out. You'll see how different it looks. You can already see how the sort of coating, how different it looks compared to the other batch I made. Very well. I'll fish it out as before. Let it drain out on this tissue paper on the plate. And after a while, I'll get this greenery out also. Alright. Let's try some. Be a good boy and eat the greens first. That actually is better. Infinitely better, far closer to the sort of crispy outer bit that you'd expect to taste in fried chicken were you having it at a restaurant or something. Not sure whether, you know, a person from Southern America would recognise it, but still, I recommend the pan-fried version I just made if you really want to duplicate what I just did. Unless, of course, you don't really like the crumbs on it, in which case go ahead with the deep fat frying. There's no real healthy way of having it, unless you alter the oil a bit, maybe. But yes, for taste, for sheer taste, I recommend the pan-fried. So, by all means use the ingredients I used for the coating, and the milk, or use buttermilk instead, as I would have done had I had access to it, and use the pan-fried version that the pan-fried method that I just used in order to cook it. So, ta-ta!